Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Heritage auctions last week, we had a couple of good ones. We talked about the Neal Schon auction before in this video, so we'll go ahead and look at some of the more interesting results, and there was one more that I wanted to talk about first. The Joe Bonamassa NFT Collection. This was a really strange auction, and to be honest, I am not surprised that it didn't sell at all. They're currently accepting offers through the auction house if you do still want to buy it, but I want to kind of explain what this is. So this auction is for physical items and non-tangible items. So you're bidding on his burst and this very nice vibroverb fender amp, but you're also purchasing the rights to one of his brand new songs that has never been released. Interesting. So first, let's check out his burst. It is a 1959 Gibson Les Paul Standard with the serial number of 0346. And it's a pretty nice playing top. Like when I think burst, outside of the Super Flame models, this is pretty much what I think. So I would say this is a pretty desirable burst, but what's going on here? It's like a new section of wood was put in. I'm not sure. I'll have to read the description. Maybe it's just reflecting the light in a different way, but even the wood grain looks kind of different between this area and that area, because you don't see any of that on this side. It looks like somebody's reinforced the output jack on this particular one. Looks like the description reads that the tuner buttons have been replaced. That's okay because they start to disintegrate after a while, so sometimes you just have to replace them. As far as the frets, it looks like they're kind of worn in the 58 style, but you still have the original PAF pickups. Looks like the caps and wiring are also supposed to be original, so all the meat and potatoes that you want to be original is there. But the rest of the description here, it doesn't say anything about a new grafting of a piece of wood, and it comes with a Gruen appraisal. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe somebody can fill us in. Because if that is a new piece of wood for some reason grafted in there, that's going to majorly affect the value of this thing. Kind of interesting, but look at that Brazilian rosewood fretboard. That is ultra dark. I like that. But then as far as the amp, it is a 1963 Fender vibroverb, dating to February of 63. It appears to be, for the most part, original and very clean condition, and I don't know a lot about these amps, but apparently they're very rare and desirable. But what he's done for this auction is he's taken this guitar and this amp, and he's written a song that's completely unpublished. And if you buy this whole listing, not only do you get the guitar, that's probably worth anywhere between $250,000 to $300,000, but you're also going to get the amp, which I'll just throw a random figure, $20,000 out there. That might be a bit high. I guess the closest one I can find currently on Reverb is about $12,000, and it seems to be pretty clean. So maybe $12,000. That's $250K, and we'll say it's got the Bonamassa premium. We'll call it $15K. You know what? Let's even be generous. $300K on the burst. So they're looking for about $120,000 for the rest of this, which is this original song of his called Broken Record, completely written and produced by Joe himself, but mastered by Kevin Shirley. So it doesn't look like it was just him who made this, so it's not like just some random recording, you buy it and then you listen, it's just like recorded at home on cheap stuff. I mean, Bonamassa has a great guitar collection, so I would imagine he's got some good recording stuff too. But basically, they are giving you the rights in order to sell this song on all the streaming services, if I'm understanding that correctly. They're also going to give you 4 promotional videos, one of him with a live studio performance of it. Looks like an interview about writing the song, as well as the story behind the guitar and the amp. Oh, so they're keeping that a secret. Bonamassa has flown all over the world and bought a whole bunch of one-owner bursts. Maybe this one has a cool story. They're also going to give you a handwritten lyric sheet signed by Joe, original cover art design that's been all copyrighted and everything. Oh. But yet they're not going to let you make merchandise or use it for commercial use. That seems a little bit restrictive. You're also going to get some digital photos about these, but they don't own the copyrights. Okay, am I misunderstanding what this is? But I guess it's just the photos. Maybe that belongs to the photographer. But the coolest options out of all of this is you're going to get 4 concert tickets, 4 meet and greet passes to any Joe Bonamassa show that you want every calendar year? Am I reading that right? Until he stops touring, you're going to get one? As long as it's just his own particular concert and meet and greet was normally available for that show. Yeah, and wow. I guess if you are a big Joe Bonamassa fan, and you want to become his best friend and see him once a year, I mean, that doesn't seem too crazily overpriced if you can make some money off of that single song. And Joe Bonamassa tickets aren't cheap. I mean, look over here. That's the next available show for halfway decent seats. And you can get meet and greets just by buying a guitar off of his website. You can check them all out right here. But you're going to have to pay to go to all those concerts. So maybe you live in a city that he goes to every year and that won't actually cost you anything. But the biggest thing for me, a personal Nerdville museum tour and lunch with Mr. Bonamassa. Now, I'm curious. Okay, it's right there. You get your choice between the Los Angeles or Nashville location. I would probably choose the LA one. Reverb did a good video on that, but I think Gibson Mark Agnesi toured his Nashville collection. I mean, the Nashville's nice, but it looks like it's up in some skyscraper, whereas the LA is kind of like situated on its own property and land as far as I understand it. But you got to work around his schedule, and you get one guest with you, and lunch is at Joe's house. Is Joe going to make you lunch? Are we talking caviar, or are we talking ordered in pizza? Oh, and you have to sign a confidentiality agreement, so I mean, that's worth nothing to me. I can't make a video about it. Yep, no filming or recording, and you have to pay to get there. Okay. So, song, guitar, amp, tickets with meet and greet for 3 of your friends, including you, a one-time museum tour, a whole music video, and you kind of own some of the rights to the song, it seems. Okay, I mean, going into this NFT, non-fungible token, I was thinking, it was like just a picture of this guitar, like sometimes those things are. But no, you're actually getting some physical stuff and kind of some interesting perks if you're a Joe Bonamassa fan. But at the end of the day, it seems like you have to buy the guitar and the amp at full value, and you're going to pay a $120,000 premium to go to these shows, view his collection, and own one of his songs, I guess. This is kind of like the first of its kind. I think Jared James Nichols is doing something similar too, but not exactly this. I didn't read too far into that. I just saw he was having an NFT auction somewhere too. So maybe we'll see more like this, but the fact that it didn't sell in open auction, maybe people aren't ready for this quite yet. Not yet. But if you're interested, I guess you can make an offer. Because I think sitting down with Joe and listening to his stories would be kind of cool. He's a fantastic guitar player that's played and outplayed with many of the greats. So I'm sure that would be an enjoyable luncheon. I think the reason why this NFT collection hasn't sold is because it doesn't necessarily appeal to one person perfectly. Like, if you're in the music distribution business and you want to buy a song for commercial gain, if you can even do that in this collection, if I'm understanding it, you don't necessarily want a 59 burst and the amp to go along with it, and you may or may not care about the personal tour. Whereas most average Joes, they would love to hang out with Joe for a little bit in his collection and have a bunch of fun. But they don't want to buy his song. They'll buy his song, but they don't want to buy his entire rights to the song. So it appeals to like 2 or 3 different types of people, but to find somebody that matches all 3 of those, I think it'd be a little bit difficult. But that was definitely geared more towards like a record executive, I think. But that's kind of a big risk on their part, I would say, especially since they don't know how good the song is. Joe is well known for being a child prodigy, and Joe has had a few good hit songs, but his songwriting style doesn't necessarily appeal to everyone. So, kind of an interesting auction. We'll see if anybody makes an offer. But now let's move on to the Neal Schon auction. So he got a little over $4 million, if I'm remembering that figure correctly. And we'll start with the big dog. I was surprised this actually sold. I tuned into this auction and watched the guy auction all these things off. You could tell he was not a guitar player in the slightest. Talking about things like, oh, the gold hardware is so nice, it'll make your friends jealous. It's like, yeah, gold hardware is nice, but it's not something to dwell upon. But, he was just doing the best. I'm sure I wouldn't sound that great trying to sell like a violin or something. But this thing only got 1 bid, so it looks like it got shot up, but only 1 person bid on this thing, and with buyer's premium, $250,000. I truly am shocked. I mean, I get it. This is supposedly the very first Les Paul that ever got a Floyd Rose because it was pretty much brand new at the time. I think he was sent to Floyd. So according to some commenters from the last video, nobody's really disputing that because it was brand new at the time. But this is just a Pro Deluxe. This is like a $3,000 guitar max normally, but all the pedigree behind it apparently made it worth $250,000 to someone. I would have never paid that much for that guitar. Because, I mean, look, only $50,000 more and you can get real 59 bursts here. Each of his bursts actually ended up bringing in some decent money. This one's kind of similar to that Bonamassa one, except for, you know, it's a little bit of a lighter color. But looking at this one, that also has a little bit of a different color right here, and you can see that the bodies are multi-pieces. So maybe that other one did have just a small piece on the edge of that guitar stock from the factory. That could be very possible. I haven't seen enough bursts to really know, but I know that one's just a different coloration in the mahogany. But $300,000 with the buyer's premium, that's about right. But this one went up to $350 just because it had a slightly darker color to it, I think. It's still pretty worn, but that was the nicer looking example in my opinion. Even his gold tops brought in very sizable sums, around $125K a piece on average. This was a really fun one to watch. The auction kind of started slow, and the auctioneer was talking about how this was like one of two exported to a certain country, at least they believe so, because that's what the shipping ledgers particularly showed for this rare color of a black beauty. So it was pretty slow at first, but then the bids got fierce and they're just going up, 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 go, 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 go. It was a lot of fun to watch this one. And it ended up capping out at $112,500. That was a lot, but you know, it's a rare color and you need it for your collection, right? And his Black 57 Standard actually did really well on the market too, $90,000. That's a pretty sizable premium over the gold finish because it's a very rare finish you don't normally see. Here's that 59 Custom I was talking about. Yeah, that auctioneer loved the gold hardware on that thing for some reason. But where is Korina body? There it is. I actually signed up for a Heritage account to really put the money down on here for this guitar and that 68 Les Paul. And this thing was a lot of fun to watch as well. Just like that other custom color, I was doing furious research because I think this started at only like 12,000. So I was thinking maybe 25 if it would end around there. Maybe, just maybe I could afford it. Because I kept finding refinished examples that had sold previously years ago for around like 18 to 25. So I was kind of feeling comfortable there, but I couldn't find like an actual one that was listed for sale recently that was in good shape. I mean, this one, it's got some significant wear to it, but I was thinking, okay, and anything 25 or less, I'll give it a shot because I think it'd just be fun to A, review a vintage Stratocaster, and B, have it be Korina. But this thing shot up. 50,000. Now I have heard of somebody advertising one for 100,000. I think now we know the truth, probably 50 to 60. I bet we will actually see this get resold by a dealer for like 80,000 bucks because it's like one of those things. There were so few Korina ones made that, you know, you kind of control the market when you have that. And his double neck didn't do half bad. I mean, there's a whole bunch of these on Reverb listed by Eric Ernest. And I plan on featuring these in a separate episode just because they're kind of cool, but he wants 75, 70, 130,000. And granted, those are EMSs, not EDSs, significantly different guitars. One's half guitar, half mandolin, the other one's half 12-string, half 6-string, and various other pieces. But this one brought in $52,500. And I hate to keep giving that auctioneer a hard time, but he called it a solid body. No. This is one of the older hollow-bodied versions, so that makes it more rare and collectible as compared to the solid-bodied version. And now this beauty. So I jokingly in the other video said my maximum bid was, you know, whatever. I had seriously thought about this one, and I was ready to bid, you know, maybe upwards of like 18.5, 20,000. Because I just started to think about it, you know, it's a 68. These things are getting more and more expensive every single day. This one had the uncommon dark back, and it was in good shape. Nobody butchered the tuners or anything on it. It was a very nice collectible piece. So I was all ready to go for this, but I am so glad I read the description. It said the headstock and neck showed no evidence of repair or damage, but may have been oversprayed. Like, I don't know about you guys, but a guitar does not get oversprayed for no reason. And even though they can't see any type of repair, that doesn't mean it's not there. So with the uncertainty of that just killed any and all want to own this particular example, because who knows, maybe the entire back was actually refinished in order to hide some stuff. It doesn't look that way, but you know, buying them as is, sight unseen, just based on that, I was just a little bit too sketched out on that, because you can see this line right here. Now that could just be a wood grain streak, that is very possible, but that is also a way that sometimes a headstock will break. So for that one, I decided to give it to someone else, and it sold for about $18,000 with the buyer's premium. I keep getting close to buying a 68 Les Paul. Very close, so maybe it'll happen, you know, within the next year or two, but I do want to document a true 68, none of that 69 stuff. Speaking of 69s, this one sold for a whopping almost $44,000. So the whole story behind this is the guitar that he used in his Carlos Santana years. So it definitely made sense that, you know, despite being routed out for humbuckers instead of mini hums or P90s, whichever this one started with, that it would go for a premium. Because they split up the auction between, yeah, these were owned by Neal Schon, they were just part of his collection, and yeah, these were owned, played on stage by Neal Schon. And pretty much all the stage use stuff did not get bids right away, because I think they were looking for a bit too much money. But this is one that definitely got a couple of bids. You can also tell one of the knobs has been replaced. But that was kind of a cool guitar, and you know, unfortunate that the 68 sold for less than this thing, but this one has a little bit more provenance. So those are the big pieces. As far as things that just did not sell at all, both of the PRS Dragon necks did not sell. The other one ended up selling on an offer. I thought about offering him $20,000 just to be like, yeah, I'll give you $20,000. These were the only two guitars out of his own collection that wasn't played on stage that did not get any attention at all on the bids. But the darker colored one did end up selling to an offer. But this one's available, $37.5 if you're interested. I think I like the darker colored one, but at the same time, you can make the argument that you can see like the flame figuring a little bit better on these. But other ones that didn't get any attention, his own brand of guitars from the 90s and late 80s, these didn't see anything, but you can buy them now. And these will just remain available for I think a couple of months if you're interested. But some of his Paul Reed Smiths, the Midases, nobody wanted the Mellow Bar. I mean, I guess I can see why. It's kind of a cool guitar, but a little bit too specialized. Maybe the price is just not quite right on that. But yeah, pretty much all his PRSs are sticking around, his Benedetto. But it was definitely fun to semi-what actively participate in this auction. That was the first one that I actually, watched in real time, listened to the auctioneer, and watched the bids go up. That was an enjoyable afternoon, especially on the more exciting pieces. So I would heavily suggest doing that yourself whenever the next auction happens to be. Alright, troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.